Hello, and welcome to the Paranormal Operator Podcast, where we talk about all manner of things that go bump in the night. Here, we discuss sightings, news, investigations, and popular media surrounding the paranormal, supernatural, and occult phenomena. So, settle in as we search for the truth. I am your host, Adam, Operator 23. In today's episode, the Department of Defense Inspector General's unclassified summary on the state of UAP response. A UAP lands outside a York school in the UK. UAP sightings above Italy, Ireland, and Canada. Sightings of Argentina's Nahuelito Lake Monster. A new documentary on New Zealand's Bigfoot. Is Princess Diana speaking to her butler from beyond the grave? Can dogs sense ghosts? Public ghost hunts? And is there anything to precognitive dreams? This story comes to us from the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General. It is a press release dated January 25th of this year, 2024, and basically it is covering an evaluation of the DoD's actions regarding UAP. Basically, how has the Department of Defense analyzed, investigated, corroborated, condensed, etc., etc. UAPs, like, do we know what they are? Is there a way to report them? And if they are reported, where do those reports go? Well, it's a little disconcerting to say the very least. So, looking into it here, the original full classified report was issued August 15th of last year, 2023. And IG Storch has pushed and created an unclassified summary of that, which we'll get into just a moment. But overall, what I'm going to tell you is that, well, something you probably already knew, but as a whole, the department, that being the Department of Defense, the ones responsible for keeping us safe from foreign threats, have not been very coordinated when it comes to UAPs. So, let's look at the summary we have here. So, now I will be posting all the links in the description below. This unclassified summary came to us January 24th of this year, 2024, so it's relatively new. And it gives an interesting breakdown of the historical stuff. It talks about Project Sign, and then it talks about Project Blue Book. It doesn't mention Project Grudge in here, or the NSA's secret space program. But basically it leaves it off right there at 1969, saying that, beyond that, the Department of Defense did not look into it in any sort of official capacity, at least not until the mid-2000s when they came up with OSAP. So OSAP is the Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications Program, and it's funny that they don't mention ATIP. I wonder why. I guess maybe Lou Elizondo's got some explaining to do, but I digress. We have OSAP, and then OSAP was then taken over, or rather disbanded, and the DoD reformed a new organization. Where is it at here? I lost it. Anyway, they formed the UAP Task Force, which I'm sure most of all of us have heard, as one of the presenters on Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch was a member of said UAP Task Force. Here we go, right here, UAP Task Force. So they came into being August of 2020 and were subsequently disbanded in June of 2021. So they weren't even around for an entire year. Not that it really mattered because they weren't brought up to full strength. Now, after this came another group, which you guys probably never heard of. I had never heard of it until this. We have in 2021 the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. So that was brought around. Basically, the Deputy Secretary of Defense was directed through a memorandum to put these guys together, and they were the successor to the UAP Task Force. And again, they did not reach operational capacity and were subsequently de-established after not even a year in service. Well, for whatever reason, quite possibly because Congress got tired of the DoD dragging their feet, Congress acted and created in July of 2022 what we have currently, which is Arrow. And Arrow's job is to do what all others have failed to accomplish. And if I'm quite honest, I don't have much faith that they will accomplish it either. We already had Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the original chief of Arrow, step down earlier this year. So, yeah. I think the government's just dragging its feet. I don't think we're actually ever going to get any kind of disclosure unless it's something forced upon them. But at any rate, Arrow came on the scene, and that's about where it leaves off. The conclusions are that the DoD does not have a comprehensive coordinated approach to UAP. Now you got to remember, this was last year, August 2023, right? It is currently February of 2024. So, what has changed? I don't know, honestly. I know Kirkpatrick is no longer in the driver's seat. But other than that, I couldn't tell you what's going on inside the Pentagon or Arrow. So, we know that they do not have a comprehensive coordinated approach. We know that they did not prior to this report. And, yeah. They don't have a comprehensive response plan. And on top of that, the DoD components have largely excluded geographic combatant commands in the UAP process. So, this particular summary does talk about what geographic combatant commands are. So basically you have CENTCOM, which is Central Command. You have AFCOM, which is the African Command. You have, it's kind of like in the Navy how you have the Atlantic Fleet and the Pacific Fleet. Well, basically the world is divvied up into continents, areas, whatnot. And each one of those areas is basically the responsibility of a commander of some sort, right? That's his area of responsibility. And that person is the head honcho for that continent, for that region, for that ocean, for, whatever. So everything has to flow through them, their office. And for whatever reason, they decided, we're just going to not talk to these folks and we're going to do our own little thing. Which, government bureaucracy, gotta love it. We're going to do things the absolute hardest way possible. Your tax dollars hard at work, folks. Putting a square peg in a round hole. Anyway, scrolling on down here, they do make recommendations. In fact, the press release here says that they made 11 recommendations in total. And these, there's not 11 here, I don't think. No. So this only has 5 recommendations, and 3 of which are identical. One is to the Secretary of the Air Force, one is to Secretary of the Navy, and then we have one for the Secretary of the Army. Scratch that, I meant 4. There are 4 that are nearly identical because the other one is to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Right there, come on. Joint Chiefs of Staff. And basically, it's this. Because the DoD has not yet being August of last year, issued any kind of guidance, then the secretaries, as well as the Joint Chief of Staff, need to issue interim guidance for UAPs while waiting on the DoD, and the DoD needs to get off their ass. So these are the 3 points. I mean, it's pretty clear. Yeah. So I'm skeptical. I'm slightly hopeful, but at the same time, I am not going to hold my breath that we're actually going to get anything substantive from this. So we'll have to see when whoever takes over Arrow, if they actually fulfill the law, because technically this is their job. By law, they have to do this, and if they don't do it, technically it's a crime. So I don't know if there's any kind of recourse for it, but yeah, maybe somebody should be thrown in jail. Just saying. If you or I would break the law, we'd definitely go to jail, depending on what law it was. Of course, not going to go to jail for jaywalking, but these people are wasting billions and trillions of dollars. They should at least have something to show for it. Anyway, guys, that's what's going on in the DoD, straight from the horse's mouth. And hopefully they will get their act together. This video sponsor is Condor. Just kidding. There's actually no sponsor. But Condor Outdoors does make really good stuff. And of course, their ad would go away right as I was talking about it. I don't really like pure leaf tea. It's okay, but I like to brew my own. So when I saw this article, I thought this was absolutely the best. Like, oh my goodness, I want to go to this school. This is amazing. So we have from Yahoo News, dated January 29th, alien invasion at York School, police on the scene this morning. And here is an image. You have the bobbies, you have the ambulance service, and you have these guys in hazmat suits surrounding something that looks vaguely UFO-ish. So yeah, basically what happened is the school here, they teamed up. Where's it at here? They teamed up with the local police team or group. They don't call them a police force over there because they think force implies danger, I guess. I don't know. So, but yeah, they teamed up with the local police force and the ambulance service, and had volunteers dress up as investigators, rope the whole place off. So as the kiddos showed up to school, they basically got to see this, and so that was pretty cool. Some of the kids were like, "This ain't real. Come on, guys." And it was like, "Did you find ET? Can we keep it as a pet?" That is so awesome that they did that. And why, you might be asking, why did they do it? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. This is kicking off oh, there's Condor. Look at that. Creative writing. They're doing some creative writing thing at the school, and this was meant to kick it off. And my goodness, look at that. That is just awesome. almost makes me kind of want to try to coordinate something with a local school here. So, just to get people, yeah, there we go, week of creative writing and storytelling. So this is definitely something that would get creative writing juices flowing. Here we go. The East York and McLeggett police team, Yorkshire Ambulance Service, and members of the Minister Lions posing as forensic scientists. So, yeah. The kids showed up at school. This chap here was quote-unquote recovering in the back of an ambulance. After touching green slime, he said he had found at the school, or around the school. So, it's organized by a Year 6 class teacher, Helen Smith. Kudos to you, Miss Smith. This is a heck of an idea. Like, just chef's kiss. Mwah. I even love it how they put slime on the ramp of the ambulance. But yeah, these kids are like, what is going on? This is not real. I tell you what, though, man, they put some work into that UFO. Like, if I walked up on that, I would be very curious. Because, I mean, obviously, that is... it's not anything alien, because it's, it's got things in there written in English. So, I would suspect it's probably part of an aircraft or something. Maybe something off of an unmanned system, but great idea. Great idea. I mean, if you want to, like, get into people's brains and be like, inspire them, there's nothing really that will ever replace experience. Having the experience, being there, is probably the most inspirational thing that anybody can go through. Coincidentally, can also be the most traumatic thing people can go through, but, trauma can also create inspiration. And if you're a teacher, you know what to do. Let's get it done. And God, I'm so busy with everything, with the work and then the podcast. But I would love to try and pick the brains out of maybe some local teachers to get this to happen. Could probably drag in some local high school kids to help build the thing. And yeah, I mean, great job. Absolutely great job. I hope these kids are completely inspired to write some really cool science fiction, although I'm not sure that he is. He's probably like, I don't know what's going on, and this kid's like, I'm too cool for school. She's like, yeah, this is fun, and he's like, can I have an interview? But yeah, I mean, because if you read through this, the children are definitely like, this is not real, but still, kudos. A for effort. I mean, look at that setup. They got the tent. They got it roped off. They had the police and the ambulance service. So, yeah. Really cool. Really cool. So, from a school in the UK who had an undoubtedly amazing yet hoaxed UAP crash landing, we now jump to Italy. Although it's not really Italy, it's actually Lithuania. So this particular story, UFOs appearing over Italy, causes confusion with skeptics adamant video is hoax. So this coming to us from the Irish Star, and it is dated January 29th. So, what is this all about? So, apparently there was a video that was posted January 21st by at Alpha Fox 78 on Twitter. There's a 36-second clip, and well, it's pretty trippy. I'm not gonna lie. If I'd have seen this clip, I would be like, "What on earth is this? What in the world's going on?" I'm gonna see if I can play this video here.
C'è speciale?
So I'm gonna mute that. Yeah, so you have these objects, these lit, luminous objects falling into the river, and you can hear the splat when it hits the water. Just listening to the language, I don't think that's Italian. Just a guess. I did take 2 years of Latin. That doesn't really sound like Italian to me. Anyway, basically what these things are, they're UAPs. Actually, they're not. They're UAVs. They're drones, essentially. And something happens, they lost power, or something happened technical, so they started falling out of the sky. And yeah, it was actually not in Italy. It was actually in Lithuania. And let me see where I can find that. It's in the article here. Yeah, so they did a reverse search, image search, and they found that it's actually from February 16th of 2022 in Vilnius, Lithuania. So strong winds caused many of the drones to fall from the sky. There you have it. Not UFOs. Too bad. So sad. Looked pretty cool, though. I definitely would have freaked out having not known what in the world was landing in front of me. So, moving right along, we have a report out of Ireland. And I'm not going to play the audio here, but I'm just going to tell you what it is. You can listen. The links down in the description. This particular report is from January 30th of this year, and basically it is Starlink. Yeah. People saw stuff traveling through the night sky. One guy almost crashed his van when he saw that. But yeah, it's just Starlink. Thanks, Elon, for making my job harder. All right, and then moving on to something that no one has yet to explain. Canada apparently had a small flap of UFOs. This particular story is dated January 18th, and I guess the story itself was released on January 31st. This here is just the audio. There is no video, and it's from CTV News. That's where I first found it. Upon a quick Google search, I was able to find an article, again, from the Irish Star. And yeah, I mean, you can read the article if you want to. There's not much to it. The strange occurrences happened on January 19th, around 4:45 a.m. local time, and basically it was witnessed by 4 different airplanes, all of which were like, I have no idea what it is. There was one account, if I can find it here. So, yeah, I haven't seen them tonight, but we've been seeing those lights for probably the last 18 months or so. What in the absolute just... You've been seeing stuff and for 18 months and you didn't think to tell someone? What? Just literally, what? Come on, my dude. So, yeah. This is just that. And as far as they could recollect, they estimate that the lights were around 100,000 feet up. And that's high. That's really high. One of them did say that, well, direction we're traveling, it's very possible. Maybe it's the light reflecting off of something, and those are just satellites. But then another guy's like, bro, these things are moving, like, side to side. they're coming into formations and then they're changing their formation. Like one person said would become a triangle, then the same person said then it would kind of form into like the Big Dipper looking sort of shape, and then they even said that they would appear, disappear, and then reappear. And if they are moving side to side, that doesn't sound like any kind of an orbit or physics that a satellite would tend to fly in. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert here. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what I heard. So if you want, both of these links will be in the description. You can hear, this is on YouTube. You can listen to the 13 minutes of audio, which just basically has this background of the Aurora Borealis. And then this one here also is the audio. It's 13 minutes worth of audio. And it's basically just pilots communicating with ground control, air traffic control. Like, hey, I see these things. Do you have anything on radar? No, we don't. Let me call another plane. Hey, other plane, do you see these things at your 12 o'clock or, whatever direction? So it's interesting. It is very interesting. Just a couple of weeks, this is a relatively new sighting. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that if you yourself are a pilot or ground crew or a stewardess or a steward, and you feel so inclined to report such activity, you can do so on my website, paranormaloperator23.com. You can, if you're a layperson, come and report by clicking on this button right here, or if you are an aviation specialist, you can follow this link right here, which has it's formatted more for aviation professionals. So yeah, I mean, if you're one of these folks that saw this, let me know what's going on. Like, whatever details you got, I will definitely take them. So we have a spotting over Ireland, which was Starlink, and then we have this over Canada, which is just like, what on earth is this, right? And yeah, so things are happening. Get the drones that were definitely not in Italy, and also were definitely not UFOs. But you know what? Hey, nice try anyway. Someone call Josh Gates and the Destination Truth crew so they can check out Orbitz or Expedia for the cheapest flights down to Argentina. This next story we have comes from the Daily Caller, and it is a recent cryptid sighting. And we know how incredible those are and how rare they are as well. So, the Nahuelito, Nahuelito, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. The Nahuelito is Argentina's version of the Loch Ness Monster, and it has been reportedly caught on video. So, this particular story comes to us again from the Daily Caller, and it is dated January 30th, 2024. So, many of you here probably have heard of Nessie, or the Loch Ness Monster. Sea monsters, river monsters, sea serpents, and the like are a near ubiquitous presence all around the world. Every culture, no matter what continent it is on, save maybe for Antarctica, has some kind of tradition of river monsters, sea serpents, something big and slithery in the waters. In fact, I spent my Christmas and New Year's break this past year actually doing an investigation into the Altamaha, which is a river monster on the Altamaha River in Darien, Georgia, and hopefully there will be a film, well, quote unquote film, a video, YouTube. Let me be real here, coming out, and we'll be doing a better, more thorough investigation this summer. So, anyway, they're all around. They're everywhere. They are in South America. They are in Japan. You know, it's not just a Loch Ness thing. So, this creature was supposedly seen in Nahuelito Lake, which is in Patagonia. And it is described as a plesiosaur and giant serpent like Nessie. And the name is the Nahuelito. It was supposedly reported recently while tourists were out on a kayak trip. And the sighting was published on YouTube by Myra Moore, the Paranormal Chick. So you might can give her a look, like, and subscribe. Here's her video. You can follow that over to YouTube if you would like. The links and everything will be in the description. So, what are these people seeing? It's not clear, but there is something causing a wake. And it appears to be traveling in that direction. There are no boats, and the people are in kayaks. So, presumably, you would think that if it was a boat, that the people in the kayaks would say, oh, well, you know, it's just a boat. I'm going to open up YouTube here and see what we got. We have an ad. Skip. Come on. Go. So, yeah, that is... There's some... We got 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 humps. It could be just individual animals, I guess, but... That is so weird. I'm going to give her a like and a subscribe. Absolutely. So this is from 9 days ago. January 26th. It's pretty cool. I mean, whatever it is must be sizable because it doesn't look like they're very close. You know, that might be 50 feet. You know, it's really hard to tell, but it doesn't look like it's very close to them. And this is Patagonia, right? This is, let's see if I can search this place. Because Patagonia, you know, it's the southern tip of the world before you get to Antarctica. So I would imagine that water is probably freezing cold. Alright, so where's the lake at? That's a big lake. Holy cow. Nope, stop. Alright, so there's the lake. Right? We'll get it highlighted again, maybe. Yep. So here's the lake. We'll zoom out. We got Argentina on this side. We got Chile on this side. It's not too far down the peninsula. So there's the lake in reference to the rest of the country. So I wonder what latitude that is. Doesn't give me any latitude on it. Oh well. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool looking. So yeah, head over to her channel. Give her a like and a sub. Myra Moore, the Paranormal Chick. I'll have to check out some more of her stuff. Anyway, there you have a recent sighting of a lake monster. So, our next part of the cryptid news, we have a new documentary to watch. And this particular story comes to us from the Waikato Herald, which I believe is out of New Zealand. The particular story is dated January 30th, and it talks about the Moehau Man. Moehau Man? I'm sorry. Again, this is not quite English. But Moehau Man, apparently New Zealand has a Bigfoot as well. This is one I wasn't even aware of until this day, because, Bigfoot really exists pretty much everywhere. Here in North America, he's the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, all sorts of different names by the Native Americans. You go over to Europe, specifically Eastern Europe, he's the Almost or the Almosti. He's the Yeri, the Yeren, Yowie. There's just tons of names. He's all over the place. So if you want to read through this article, you can. I'm just going to kind of skim over it. So here's our filmmaker here. He's a paranormal investigator. And he has come out with this documentary. I'm not sure if he consulted anybody on that name. I would have maybe cautioned him against it. Because when I think of X-rated files, that sounds like an adult parody of the X-Files to me. But, giggity. So apparently this guy went to Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know if he actually got into it or not. He's got some film of him at the entrance in the trailer. And he said, basically after he left, weird stuff followed him from Skinwalker Ranch, which is pretty cool. So the Maori have legends of Bigfoot over in the New Zealand. And here's an image from the documentary. So these are supposedly healthy trees that something had torn down. And presumably there's nothing there large enough to take these trees down. So, they're suspecting it might have been this Bigfoot type creature. Oh, there's Patty. And then here's something pretty cool. We have what looks like a footprint. I mean, it's hard to tell distance and whatnot, but that looks pretty big. Like, that looks bigger than I would even imagine a Bigfoot print might be, if it's as big as I think. Because that's, that might be 24 inches long. It doesn't say how long it is. So, anyway, it's an interesting read if you want to look back over this. I have found the X-rated files. And it's not adulterated, I promise. Or at least, I don't think it is. And you can watch it on Vimeo here. It's $7.99 to rent. It's an hour and 48 minutes. I'll probably give it a watch just to see what it's about. I mean, $8 isn't bad. And it was either published, it was probably published on Vimeo November 30th of 2023. And it does have an IMDb page on it, so if you want to see more, but I was looking at it earlier, and I don't think it has any more actual more information than this. So very interesting. We got our two crypto stories about the Argentine Loch Ness Monster and a new documentary about a New Zealand Bigfoot. So we have two stories and two announcements for public ghost hunting investigations. This first story comes to us from The Mirror. It is dated January 27th of this year, and it's titled, Paul Burrell claims ghost of Princess Diana haunts his home in chilling admission. As part of a new haunted house TV show, former royal butler Paul Burrell believes that the late Princess Diana has spoken to him in his countryside pad following her death in 1997. So she's been talking to him for 27 years, and he has just now decided, because I'm on TV, maybe I need to tell somebody about it. Strikes me like a publicity stunt, but, whatever. So, Paul Burrell, he was a butler to the royal family. He is apparently a reality TV star and is 65 years old, starring in the new TV show titled Celebrity Help, My House is Haunted. So, that's kind of interesting, kind of a interesting hook, I suppose. Anyway, so this chap apparently was the butler under Princess Diana when she died in Paris back in 1997. That's oh, come on, you buggers. So that's a picture there of Princess Diana, as well as Paul Burrell. And then that is him today. So, yeah, I mean, he doesn't really go into any detail in the article here as to exactly what she's been talking about, or any kind of details, really at all. But what is kind of funny, and this is a really good segue into our next little story here, is that Princess Diana was not the only member of the royal family to allegedly believe in the paranormal. So our dear late queen, and he's not talking about Diana, he's talking about, what's her name? The queen that just died not too long ago. She said that she would never go to whatever this is, probably Welsh, cottage on Lake Balmoral without the corgis, because the corgis sense it before I do. So that's pretty cool. And then also, he talks a little bit about Queen Victoria here also, and Queen Elizabeth II believed in ghosts and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, the Victorian period was a literal renaissance for the occult. I mean, you had people using planchettes and talking boards, even though they weren't called Ouija boards yet. You had the whole spiritualist movement just prior to the Civil War here in America. So, yeah, I would believe that Queen Victoria was very deep into that, because the Victorian period was awash in that sort of thing. But coming back here, the corgis sense it before I do. So that opens us to our next article from the Dog Times. Never heard of this publication, but I like it already. Ads. There is just the bestest doggo ever right there. So, can dogs see ghosts and sense spirits? Is the title of this particular article. It is dated January 30th, 2024. So, well, can they? The answer is, we don't really know. The enigmatic nature of animal behavior leaves room for the possibility that dogs may perceive things beyond human comprehension. We definitely know that they perceive things beyond our perception. So, apart from the conventional five senses, sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, dogs also possess a sixth sense, which we call intuition. So, that's kind of cool. They got their little intuition. And I've often heard that dogs can just read a person, like they know if it's a good person or not. Maybe that's part of that. I don't know. What they are also really good at is detecting movement in low light conditions, because they have what's called a tapetum lucidum, which is not it's not brought up in this article, but it's an extra layer in their eye that makes it so they can see better in low light conditions. And then we also have what they call ESP, which for their purpose is extra smell perception, which is just absolutely hilarious that they would call it ESP. So, yeah, dogs, their olfactory abilities are 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive, I'm presuming, than our own. In this regards, come on. In this regard, dogs exhibit a form of ESP, which is extra smell perception, which suggests that dogs could potentially perceive ghosts through scent, which is actually pretty interesting when you think about it, because phantom scents are a thing. It's documented. You'll be somewhere and then all of a sudden you'll smell something that is quite possibly associated with the deceased person. So phantom scents are a thing. I will say, though, that they are rather rare, and I don't know why it's rare, except maybe it's more difficult to manifest. So yeah, dogs' remarkable sensory abilities imply they may perceive ghosts. If the supernatural is real, this adds yet another layer to the age-old mystery of the canine-human bond. So, if you're out there and you are, you're a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator, and you're like, I kind of want a dog. Well, and you need an excuse, here is that excuse. I mean, as if you really needed an excuse to get a dog. I've often thought about it quite a few times, getting a dog. And golly, if I were home more, I would have one, most definitely. But I'm hardly ever at home. I'm almost always on the road for work, and that would make having a dog rather difficult. But it would be very interesting if someone could train a dog to, do paranormal investigation, because theoretically, you could also use them, depending on the species or breed of dog, maybe to even track. You got this critter, you're like, oh, is this a Bigfoot? Sniff that, track, and follow it. Basically, So, interesting. All right, our last two we have. So this here is from the 1819 News, dated today, actually, February 4th, and it is a public ghost hunt. So, around, however you say this name, I'm going to give it a shot, probably butcher it, the Silicaga, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, this place, they are at their museum inviting people to come in to hunt for ghosts February 17th, and you yourself, the public, Joe Public and Jane Public, can come right on in and participate with them. So the museum's address is even a lucky place for the spooks to find. It's 711. So 711 North Broadway, Silicaga. Don't see. Is it in Alabama? Maybe it's in Alabama. Well, that would make sense. Yeah, it's in Alabama. Duh. So yeah, so Silicaga, Alabama, the Isabel Anderson Cummer Museum and Art Center, February 17th, if you're interested in trying your hand at hunting for ghosts. And it looks like it's a family-friendly event, so bring your kids, bring the whole family. Come on out. Then the last one here, this one is across the pond. This story coming from Nottingham World, and it is dated January 31st. So this place right here is a well-known haunted building, and it is very rare that paranormal investigators get access to it. It is Walleton Hall, and it is purportedly to be one of the most haunted buildings in Nottinghamshire. The public investigation will happen Sunday, March 24th, and it will give guests unique access. The building itself was built between 1580 and 1588 for this lord, who was an industrialist and a coal owner, coal owner. That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So, yeah, it's been around a long time, and it is supposedly a hotbed of paranormal sightings. Most notably, they have a spirit called the Lady in White, who has been seen exiting the rear of the hall before making her way toward the orangery. I guess they grow oranges. And then across to the stable block. So, if you are in the UK, tickets are £45 British money. They can be purchased at this link here, which this link up here will be in the description. So, if you find yourself in the UK and you want to check out this place, go for it. So again, this is going to be Sunday, March 24th, Walleton Hall, Nottinghamshire, UK. And, by the way, if any of the people who go to these things are all like, oh my gosh, I had a paranormal experience, well, you are invited to come to my website, paranormaloperator23.com, and make a good old paranormal activity report right just here. You just click on that button and it will take you to our Google form, and you can tell me all about it. And hey, maybe I'll have you come on to the podcast and we can talk about your experience. So that's for really anybody, not just these people going to these public events. If you have a paranormal experience, whether it's with a cryptid, UFO, aliens, or ghosts, or any other kind of supernatural beings, feel free to drop a report at paranormaloperator23.com. This week's Parapsychology article comes from Grunge, entitled, Can Precognitive Dreams Really Tell Us the Future? This particular article is dated January 31st of this year. The hook goes into a woman named Calpurnia, who was the wife of someone we all probably recognize the name of, Julius Caesar. According to some sources, Calpurnia dreamt of Caesar's death and begged her husband not to go into the Senate on that one fateful day in March. And well, whatever happened, he decided he would go anyway and wound up getting stabbed to death. Stay strapped to get clapped. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, this is probably one of the most famous examples of precognition in antiquity. And here we have some studies. One study called Precognitive Dreaming, Investigating Anomalous Cognition and Psychological Factors, which was published in the Journal of Parapsychology, notes that 67% of 1,500 Americans in a survey had previously recorded psychic experiences, while another study on 1,000 subjects in the UK found that about 33% had experienced precognition. A third study found that 60% of apparent precognition had come in the form of a dream. So I'm not entirely sure what they're defining as precognition, because if it's not a dream, then it's not precognition, it's divination, I guess. I don't know. I'd like a definition. Anyway, so we all know that dreams often will have symbolic meaning. They are not always clear in the imagery, and sometimes you'll see that there is a message that you'll receive from beyond the grave. My dad actually had a very strange dream where he had a little confab with several of his family members who had already passed. And, well, as far as we know, the physical laws we have so far cannot explain what the heck is going on. So, rather than write off the phenomena, here are some explanations as to why so many of us see to the future, or rather see the future in our dreams. So the first theory is about non-linear time. So let me break it down for you. Linear is just a fancy math word for line. You have the past, you have the present, and then you have the future in those orders, A, B, C. It goes and flows in one direction. What is current is present, and what is past is lost forever. And if you go by a non-linear theory of time, basically all points in time exist simultaneously. So you would be able to not only be in the present, but also able to go back to the past as well as go into the future, which is kind of cool if you want to think about it. Just try not to think too hard about time travel, because it is the ruination of so many storylines and plots. I'm looking at you, Marvel. So, yeah. So, as far as nonlinear time goes, with relativity speaking, it's not necessarily out of the question, because weird things happen in relativity. The other theory we have is the subconscious theory, and this one here goes into psychology, mainly with Carl Jung. He established the idea that such dream images are reflections of our subconscious mind, reflecting our innermost drives, fears, and desires. And he basically said that, these images are inherited as archetypes, and that's archetypes is his word. They're hardwired into us, passed down through the generations. So, for example, something like a dragon, right? That would be kind of like an archetype of evil, right? It is something that has been revered and feared all throughout mankind for generations, going back, in memoriam, right? So basically, it's our subconscious coming through that is telling us there's something going to happen. So, yeah. Such dreaming, therefore, may come as a warning from our subconscious selves about possible future scenarios, and, when such events come to pass, seem to have uncannily predicted the future, as with Calpurnia's premonition of the assassination of Caesar. So that kind of ties into weird feelings that you might get. You see, like, you observe a ton more than you actually process consciously. Your brain is constantly looking for patterns, and your brain might cue in on something that it thinks you need to pay attention to, and it will, it'll be like, hey, look this way, boom, because way back when, caveman times, it might have been a saber-toothed cat about to jump out of the bushes, right? So your brain pulls in a ton of information every second, and then it processes that, and most of the stuff it processes, it does subconsciously. So there's a pretty good basis for validity for the subconscious theory. And then the other theory is coincidence. So it is important to note that despite a wealth of anecdotal evidence, there has been no documented, quote-unquote, scientific proof of the existence of precognitive dreams. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I am never again, ever going to use that quote because, well, apparently it's Carl Sagan, and Carl Sagan was a bit of an asshole as well as somewhat of a fraud. If you want to believe the one physics professor from Bama, Dr. Travis Taylor. So, yeah, why do extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence? Why can't extraordinary claims be proven by regular evidence? Because we're wrong about stuff all the time. I mean, it literally, someone might not have carried the one in an equation. Why can't that solve something? But at any rate, I digress. So, the skeptic's explanation of precognitive dreams is that such experiences are nothing more than a coincidence. Experts believe it is highly likely that everyone dreams, and anyone who sleeps deeply experiences REM. I don't know where this person's getting their sources from, but everybody experiences REM unless you have some really horrible thing, because without REM, your brain could not function. Like, REM is where your brain is, like, repairing itself. So, yeah. I'm fairly certain everybody experiences rapid eye movement sleep. So, it is believed that, we can have up to 6 dreams per night. I know that I can definitely have more than that because I've written them down before. And cool fun fact here, yes, your subconscious mind does move on to other subjects and scenarios rather quickly, but you can train your mind to remember these dreams. Basically, if you take a book and a pen, or maybe just a pen and paper, pen and pad, whatever, put it beside your bed, and as you're laying there going to sleep, tell yourself, I'm going to remember my dreams, I'm going to remember my dreams, I'm going to remember my dreams, and just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again. Fun fact, you will remember your dreams, and you have a buttload of them every single night, even if you don't remember them. And, I would recommend, do this on your own. You don't necessarily have to be trying to, walk some sort of mythical path or be researching into the occult necessarily, because, I mean, it really is kind of entertainment. Like, literally, you're going to the movies, essentially, but in your mind, and your brain is resting. So, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience. So, yeah, you have a ton of dreams every night. Everybody does. And you can train yourself to remember them. And I wouldn't be saying this if it weren't true, because, like, there was a time where I would not remember any dreams at all for, like, a while. And then all of a sudden I started thinking about my dreams again, and I started remembering them. So you can train yourself to do that. So basically, the average human experiences thousands of dreams during the course of their life, so it is probable that one or two would appear to predict the future. So, yeah, that's the skeptical thing. Probability, statistics, and math. So let me tell you a little something about my experience with precognitive dreaming. It is a thing, and it is my assertion that everybody has parapsychological powers. Some people have them ingrained more deeply than others, but everyone, so far as I can tell, should have the ability to acquire them if they don't already have them. And I've had many dreams where it was probably months later where the thing actually happened. So, and I had a friend of mine saying, "Oh, well, it's just a coincidence. It's your brain making you perceive as though you have a memory of having that dream." And you know, had I not written this dream down with a date on it, yeah, I would maybe believe that. But it's not the case, because I remember waking up thinking, man, that was a weird dream. And then months and months and months later down the road, that dream happening. So, and it's not like you stumble through the scene or the event, but like most of the time when it happens to me, I can feel it coming. Like my brain will recognize, like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. I've seen this. I've heard this. Whatever it happens to be. I've had dreams where I have people sitting around me who I don't know who they are. I don't recognize them, but I recognize their clothing. I take note of their clothing and how we're sitting and where they are in relation to me. And then, later on, time goes by, and then I'm in that situation. I actually had one that was so vivid. I was having a conversation, an argument really, with someone over the phone. And when the event came to pass, it actually wasn't that long in between the dream and the actual event. And it was so eerie, because it's like I knew what they were going to say, and I made and I knew it was going to piss them off, what I said. And I'm like, yeah, I could change what I'm going to say, but I'm not gonna. So that was kind of fun in a way, I guess. But yeah, I've had experiences with precognition, and my family, I know my dad has. I think maybe my mom had. I don't know. She's kind of skeptical about that sort of stuff. Or at least she was. Now that she's in her how do I say this gingerly? Her older years, not really twilight years, although they are, I guess, probably twilight years. I'm hoping I'll get another, 10 or 15 years out of her, maybe. I think she's opened up a little bit more to the thought of, that sort of stuff. But anyway, precognition in dreams is definitely a thing. And, if you guys want to look it up, there's plenty of stuff on the internet. And there's one place called the Rhine Research Center, which is here in North Carolina, in Durham. They actually have classes in parapsychology as well as paranormal investigation and, well, yeah, parapsychology, so ESP and that sort of stuff, to teach you how to kind of, master these sorts of things. And if you think you have a gift for it, well, hey, let me know down in the comments section below. I would love to hear your stories. I have, I don't know how many, and I'm not going to take all your time up here. So, goodness gracious, this one's already been 15 minutes. So we'll end it there. Well, that's all we have time for this week, folks. Please let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, as all of those things do help the algorithm. If you like what you heard, then I would really appreciate your subscription. If you did not like what you heard, well, then I thank you for listening this long. You can find us on almost all of the social medias. Here on YouTube and Instagram, it's at Paranormal Operator 23. Twitter and Facebook is at Paranormal Ops 23. You can reach out to our emails, either our Gmail, paranormaloperator23@gmail.com, or if you don't trust Google with your particulars, you can also reach out to us at contact@paranormaloperator23.com. And again, if you have any sort of paranormal experience, be that with a UFO, ghosts, demons, Bigfoot, or anything other supernatural, paranormal, or occult phenomena, feel free to reach out to us through our website, paranormaloperator23.com, and make a paranormal activity report. Again, folks, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to my podcast, and I hope to make many, many, many more episodes in the near future. But until then, keep searching in the darkness.